Nerikomi block, also known as agate ware. Remember, it's a stacking of colored clays that's going to produce a natural look, much like sedimentation in rocks. You're going to get all these different layers of color. Here I'm showing you a glaze sample. You can choose to leave yours in the natural state or you can glaze it. So that's the patterns that we're going to be making. So let me teach you two little different approaches to this. First of all, I'm going to teach you the rolling out the slabs. So you have 5 colors of clay. You're going to roll out each color of clay. Notice I'm slamming the clay first to stretch it out, and then I roll it out a little bit one direction, flip it, and turn it and roll it in the other direction. This allows you to get a nice, evenly spaced, round patty. So make sure you're constantly picking it up, turning it, and rolling it in the opposite direction. Makes it easier. The more you pick it up and turn it, the easier it is. So you're going to see me whip through a whole bunch of these, slamming them, rolling them, turning them, and I'm going to get through all of the different colors, the black, the red, the brown, and now I'm on white, and you'll notice I have a bigger chunk of clay, so it's going to take a little bit more work, and notice I still turn it, and the more I pick it up, the easier it's going to be for me to roll that slab out, so don't forget that. Now I have all my colors. You can see all my patties. They're all ready to go. Put those aside. Now the first thing I'm going to show you is just a simple stacking pattern. So I've got colors of clay and I've got them all rolled. I'm just going to stack them. Easy. This is going to create a line design. As I put them together, I'm like, oh, I should put water between them. So I'm putting water, a little bit of water, just so they seal. You don't want any air gaps in your clay. So I've got this nice big cookie that with all these different filling layers that I've produced here. This one, it looks just like bacon. It always makes me think of bacon. I had to make a little bacon strip. So now what I'm doing is I'm just cutting those slabs up and I'm playing around with different patterns. So I've created, you can see just different darks and lights, different directions of patterns. And with all my scraps, I'm putting them in this little Ziploc bag because I'm going to use them for another project later. But here I am taking and stacking and stretching out my little patterns, cleaning them up and arranging them much like the canes patterns that I'm going to show you in class. So here I slowed the film down just so you could see in between each additional stack I make, I pick the log up and I am slamming it down. You can tell that the camera is on the table as it gets blurry every time I smash it. But this will just eliminate any air bubbles. I kind of suggest that you guys keep your shapes in a rectangular or square shape. Just makes it easier for fitting pieces together. You can kind of see I checked the pattern and I've got extra clay that I'm going to add. So I'm making a little crevice here for a log that I made, a coil that's filled with black that I'm going to stick in this little hole right there. So just a little variation in the pattern that I've created. And I'm almost done with my log. This one's going to be quite thick in nature. So you can see it's not terribly big. So that will determine how much, how large my my actual project will end up being, how much clay I have. But I've used everything that was in the bag, except for the scraps that were left over. It's good to have scraps. So now I'm going to show you a different approach. I call it the burrito wrap. Just makes me hungry. And basically you guys did a lot of coils in our last project, but here we are. I'm going to start with a black coil that I roll out. And after I get that as even as possible, I'm going to take a little slab. You can do either one of these patterns or whatever you want to do. These are just suggestions. I have my black round coil. You can make it square or diamond shape, whatever you want. I'm now going to roll that in white clay. So it's kind of like a cinnamon roll. I cut a straight edge and I roll it up. I make sure there's no air in between the wrap. Okay, so I've got that. All done. Now I'm going for another layer. I've got like the brown or the black clay. I can't tell which one I used, but I'm making sure there's no air. And it's a really tight wrap, okay? You don't want any of that stuff falling out. I also did wet it again, so it's nice and slick. And then I'm going to apply force, making sure there's no air. So rolling, rolling, rolling. And I did this so many different times with all the different colors of clay. I would suggest you put white in between everything. You'll see later in this clip that I was not thinking and I didn't put white and I kind of regretted not having enough white, so I'm going to go back and add white at the end. So here I am going to make sure that that clay seals really tight with no air gaps, using water just to smooth it out and then trimming it up. So this is the, whatever, I'll call it the burrito wrap. And just another pattern, a million patterns out there. You guys can be as creative as you want. Spend some time. Look, I'm slamming it, making a nice square. I started with a circle, but I'm ending with a square just because squares are easier. Okay, so I've got my log, and he looks like he's pretty done. So I am going to wrap them up because this is where you should be by Friday. I'm going to wrap it up and put it away until we're ready to move on. So I'm looking at the log that I created. I decided to take a little crosshatch on it. I see a cool pattern, but I'm like, man, there's not enough white, so I'm going to add some more white to that. And you will get to jump. You don't need to see me roll it out, but I did add more white on the outside, so that's what the pattern ended up looking like. So that also, this one isn't as thick as the other log, but this one is kind of long. So I actually measure it for you here, and it came out to be about 10 inches long. There's no real exact thing that you need here, guys. You're just gonna want to keep it as big as possible given the 5 pieces of clay that I gave you. And again, you can add as much white clay to those as you'd like. So that's all ready. Now you saving all your scraps because we're going to need that, so seal those, maybe add a teeny bit of water to them. We're going to use those for another project. So after that's all done, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to find little molds. You can do, you have a choice. You can do 3 smalls or 1 large. So it's up to you. Just find the things you're going to drape your slabs over. Try not to find a foot like this, but a smooth bottom is preferable. And then you're also going to need to find a little plastic bag. I know you guys have tons of plastic bags because you want a barrier of a plastic bag between the clay and the bowl, so